Let's give a little bit of an update to the Dynasty rookie ranks for the 2025 NBA draft after Summer League. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and how many baby daddies do you have, if you don't mind me asking? I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. So give it a thumb, give it a bang, give it a double bang, give it a double comment, double bang, comment, double... You know what to do. You know what to do. All right, so I did my Dynasty rookie ranks straight after the NBA draft. Well, maybe a day or two later, but straight after the NBA draft. NBA Summer League has happened. I talked about that yesterday. I talked about how it is hard to take things away in the aggregate from Summer League, but I'm still going to make some small adjustments to my Dynasty rookie ranks. Now, these are going to be in tiers. You're not crying, but you know what I mean? Tiered lists. And if somebody is in the same tier, well, consider them relatively interchangeable. I am going to number them from 75 down to 1. There's 12 tiers in total. And if you want to move guys around, that is okay. And all this stuff is relatively fluid. And even within this, right, when we're talking Dynasty rookies, there are some players who are going to be higher for certain teams. In terms of builds in category leagues, but also like, hey, this guy might not play this year, so depending on where you want to be, do you prioritize him? Do you deprioritize him? All that sort of stuff. Is this one that might happen immediately now and you get more of an immediate payoff, or one that takes 3 or 4 years to maybe get somewhere? And all those things are really hard to put into a numerical list. I'm also, as I display them on the YouTube video, and I'll mention it as I talk through it too, I will talk about the ranking, and the default numbers you're going to see on the screen are going to be for category leagues, but there will be a secondary ranking next to that player's name as to where they rank for Dynasty points leagues, using standard Yahoo scoring. Now, if your points league uses different scoring, I don't know what to tell you. I can't help you. I can't do rankings for all of that, every sort of permutation, combination of rankings. So I won't. Let's get into it. Again, we won't go into gigantic detail on these players. We've talked about them quite a bit. I've just got 75 names that I want to get through, and we're going to get through them. To start, in Tier 12, at number 75, CJ Huntley. He's 74th for points leagues. Number 74, Eli John Ndaye for the Atlanta Hawks two-way guy. He is 69th giggity for points leagues. Number 73 is Mark Sears. He is 72nd for points leagues. Caleb Grill, the barbecue. He's 72nd for category leagues and 80th for points leagues. Hunter Dickinson is 71st for category leagues and 76th for points leagues. These guys, they're not going to really matter. Most of these guys will have no impact in the NBA. To finish off Tier 12, at number 70, Kadari Richmond. He's 73rd for points leagues. 69th giggity is Peyton Sanford, who is 70th in points leagues. And 68 is Dallas Mavericks two-way player Miles Kelly, who is also 68th in points leagues. Again, these guys aren't going to have much of an impact. A lot of your Dynasty drafts won't even go this deep into the list of players. So for the large part here, you don't need to talk, or we don't need to worry too much about these guys. The same goes with Tier 11. At number 67, Dink Pate. I've got him as 66th in Yahoo Points Leagues. 66 is Muhammad Diawara, who I've got 62nd in Points Leagues. 65 is Tamar Bates, who I've got 67th in Points Leagues. And number 64 is Jemai Mashak, who I have got 65th for points leagues. Again, not sure these guys are going to have much impact. Let's go to Tier 10, where we start to get into a little bit more interesting stuff with some of these guys. But again, the majority of these guys might play 1 or 2 years in the NBA, if that, and then they're done. Tier 10, Hunter Salas at 63rd. He's 59th in points leagues. I thought he was pretty good in Summer League. 62 is RJ Luis. I've got him 64th for points. 61 is Vlad Golden, who is 61st in points as well. Number 60 is Salio Niang, who was a drafted player. He was 56th in points leagues. And then at 59 is Eric Dixon, who I've got 60th in points leagues. The rest of tier 10 includes another drafted player, and that is Talon Peter at number 58, Indiana Pacers. I believe he'll be signing a two-way. I've got him 63rd for points leagues, and then there's old Willie Dick, Will Richard at 57, who is 58th in my points league rankings. Again, we're going to just fly through these names because they don't mean that much in the general scheme of how we're trying to establish the value of players in dynasty leagues. They're just not going to play much. But you occasionally get the diamond in the rough, very rarely. Tier 9. At number 56, we're going with old Chuckles Hepburn. He's 57th in points leagues. 55 is another drafted player going to the Bulls on a two-way. There was no team in the NBA that used their two-way players less than the Bulls did last season, so I don't expect much from Lachlan Olbrich. I've got him 55th for categories and 51st for points leagues. Number 54 is Ryan Nembhard, who was undrafted, which does ding him a little bit. He's a very good passer. He's quite small. He's not quite as good as his brother Andrew. You could easily make arguments for Nembhard to be higher than this, but the size, the age, the undraftedness, and the fact that he's in Dallas does make it a little bit harder. So I've got Nembhard 54th in categories, 55th in points leagues. Jameer Watkins, I've got 53rd and 54th in points leagues. And then 52 is Kobe Sanders, who is with the Clippers. I've got him 52nd in category leagues and 50th in points leagues. Now, we're getting close to the top 50, the end of tier 9. Number 51, we've got Max Schulger, who is with Boston. He hasn't signed yet with Boston. They do have 2 open two-way slots, so I think he'll take one of those. I've got him 51st in categories and 53rd in points leagues. Number 50, Toronto Raptors, Elijah Martin. He's 49th for points. And then to round out tier 9, number 49 is John Tonje, who is 52nd in points leagues. So that is the top 49 players done. Again, not going to have impacts for the majority of us, but it is important to get those guys out of the way, to talk about them, to go as deep as we need to, because if you are, again, I'll use this as a PSA, and I'll probably do some sort of a show on setting up dynasty leagues at some point in the next week or two. But if you are playing in a dynasty league, it is not realistically a dynasty league unless your league is deep. It's just simple as that. You should be rostering minimum 300 players. I've seen people say, well, I'm in a 12-man dynasty league, 150 players rostered. Who do I pick? Nobody. You treat all that stuff as redraft. It's got to be deeper. Because, and we can talk about this in another show when we go through this and talk about setting it up, but the shallower you make it, the more that you turn it into a situation where you've got a quarter of the league rostered, the more unbalanced it becomes, the more tanking is prevalent, the more uncompetitive it is. And the less it just challenges your skill as a dynasty manager. It's just a redraft league. Same as if I've got a dynasty league and we keep 2 players. You don't. You've got a redraft league with 2 keepers. And again, you just treat those things like redraft leagues. And sometimes the terminology and the way we approach these can be not counterintuitive, but we think we're playing in a certain league that requires certain approaches when in essence we aren't. So again, we'll talk about that in another show coming up. We're going to come back and talk about the remaining 8 tiers for these Dynasty rookies. Today's episode, though, it is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever wish that managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. You might be growing your savings. You might be planning for a big purchase. I don't know, car, home, jewelry, who knows? Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. Is like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app, though. It's a complete financial command center, tracking all of your accounts, investments, and your spending in one place. So, in addition to just managing your money, you can help build your wealth as well. You can check all of your purchases. You can separate them into different categories and you can see, hey, am I spending too much here? Should I be pulling back on that? How can I redistribute those funds to be able to save, to be able to get myself back on track financially? So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Okay, so like I said, we are here talking the Dynasty rookie ranks, going through them, just giving a bit of a tweak post-Summer League with Category League and Points League values in there. So now we start Tier 8. At number 48, and I probably could have had this guy higher. I was very impressed with his Summer League. The fact that he's on the Cavs is a little bit tougher, but Tyrese Proctor, I've got at 48. He's 43rd in Points Leagues. Could easily see him higher than this. His college numbers weren't great, His draft slot isn't great, but I thought he was good. 47 is Micah Peavy, who I've got 48th in points leagues. 46th is Rocco Zakarski, who looked, honestly, shout out to Rocco, Aussie, who could have, I thought, had a real chance to be, prior to this season, of course, quite a high draft pick. He looked bad. Like, I don't know where his future is on that team that's got Gobert, Naz Reid, and Johan Berenger, but he also didn't look in Summer League. I'm a little worried about Rocco. Some of the raw skills are still there. That's why I've still got him this high, but I'm quite worried about that. I've got Rocco 46th and 41st in points leagues. This is another guy that I could have put much higher. I thought he was incredibly impressive in Summer League, and that's Kobe Bryant of the Phoenix Suns. He's 45th on my category league ranking and 39th for points leagues. The problem that I have with Bryant from a dynasty perspective, especially for category leagues, is twofold. He's old. Right, he is from Kentucky. He's not a Kentucky point guard. He's a Kentucky shooting guard, but he's old, and also the Kentucky guard thing is done now because Calipari's not the coach anymore. But he's also relatively empty. He's a very strong shooter, but I don't really know what else he does. And how do you bring up fantasy value as an older? Think Sam Merrill, think Sam Hauser, think these sort of guys who work their way, even Luke Kennard, right, and Luke Kennard was obviously a lottery pick, who are strong NBA rotation players, but their fantasy value is pretty low because they tend to be one category guys. And that's why, as much as I was impressed with Braga, man, this guy could easily turn into a starting caliber player at some point. But he might not. He's old, and he doesn't do a lot of other stuff. 44 is Amari Williams for the Boston Celtics. I've got him 47th in points leagues, much like Max Sugar. Williams hasn't signed yet, so he could take one of the second two-way contracts in Boston. But if we know anything about the Boston team, and just do yourself a favor if you want to lose some weight and vomit, go check out the front court of the Celtics. Check out who might be playing minutes there. Jordan Walsh. Yeah, could he start? Baylor Shireman, George Niang, Luka Garza, Nemesh Keita. Do you want me to keep going? I shouldn't because it's disgusting. Right? The players, no offense to those guys, they're bad. Their power forward and center situation is dreadful. So, Amari Williams is a passing center from Kentucky. Again, might be on a two-way, I don't know. But, man, that grouping is pretty bad. One of the worst position groups in the entire NBA. The rest of Tier 8, Chaz Lanier, I've got 43rd. I've got him 45th in points leagues, much like Brea. I worry that he might just be a shooter. I like Lanier as a player. I like the fit for him in Detroit, and losing Hardaway and Beasley, maybe he does find a rotation role, but what else are you doing? And old. 42 is Alex Tui. Tuhey. Alex Tui. Golden State Warriors, signing a two-way, I believe. Yahoo points leagues, got him 44th, got him 42nd in category leagues, and that is your 8th tier of rookies for Dynasty. Now we get into some guys who are going to get a little bit more interesting. Tier 7, Brooks Barnhizer. Now, the minutes for Brooks Barnhizer in Oklahoma City are probably not going to be there. He's a two-way player. He's 41st for categories, 46th for points leagues. But the Thunder are going to get to a position at some point in the next year or two where they are going to be unable to have a bunch of guys on their team who are making anything more than the minimum, and they're going to have to just cycle through these guys like the Aaron Wigginses, Isaiah Joes who they've got now. They're going to have to find the next iteration of that. And Barnhizer impressed me. Yes, he is someone like he's got good size on the wing. I think he can be a little bit of a 3-and-D type of player. It's going to take some time, obviously, because of how loaded the Thunder are, and I don't think he's got superstar upside or even star upside or even starter upside necessarily, but I'm impressed by him. Number 40 is Sion James. For the Charlotte Hornets, he is not on a two-way. That Hornets roster, I'm doing the projections for them at the moment for this upcoming season. It's very weird, and I know that you'd know that because you'll say, well, it's the Hornets. Of course it's weird, but it's more than that. At the moment, the Hornets have got 21 players under contract. 3 two-way guys, but 18 full contract players. Only 2 of those 18 are non-guaranteed, and one of them is a guy that might be the starting center. I don't think he will be, but one of them might be, and that's Moussa Diabate. There's also Pat Connaughton, who is fully guaranteed at $9 million. There's Spencer Dinwiddie, who they just signed. Did they just cut Nick Smith, maybe? Their team, they have to cut 3 players, and it's not easy to find who gets cut. Like Connaughton, easily. Like they could get rid of the $9 million, but okay, it's just $9 million. I don't think they cut Diabate. Do they cut Dinwiddie? Daquan Jeffries will definitely be one of them. It's just a weird team, man. Anyway, Sion James, solid shooting numbers. Assists, maybe? He didn't super impress me, but the steal rate is always going to be interesting for fantasy. 40th for categories, I've got him 37th for points leagues. But the minutes aren't going to be apparent immediately. Number 39, Yannick Conan Niederhauser. I've got him 39th for categories and 40th for points leagues. I'll be honest with you, the only reason he's at 39 is because he was a first-round pick. I didn't think he looked good in Summer League at all. I did not have him that high in my draft board. I didn't think he was worthy of a first-round pick. I just don't think he's an NBA player. Not that he's a non-NBA player. Doesn't have starter upside. He'd be one of those guys that you try as a rotation guy, Zeke Naji, and it doesn't work out. I'm not high on him at all, but he was a first-round pick, so there's a little bit of organizational equity, even though he won't play behind Lopez and Zubats this season. Yeah, wouldn't be super confident about him. Number 38, Javon Small. That's a little bit of a dart throw for me, someone who is probably not that high on most people's boards, but I'm interested to see what he can bring. I think there's a sliver of starter potential. I've got him 38th, Javon Small, and 42nd in points leagues, and then 37 is first-round pick Hugo Gonzalez, who I've got 31st in points leagues. There is opportunity in Boston this season. He barely played for Real Madrid last season. He's got that typical European, hey, I'm a small forward, but also a point guard, and my shooting's iffy. Shout out Ben Seraf. Shout out even someone like a Vic Krejci, whose shooting is good now, but like that's the sort of that player that Gonzalez is. So I don't think he's a great fantasy contributor necessarily, but he's an interesting enough player. At number 36 is Drake Powell of the Brooklyn Nets, one of their 5 first-round picks, still in Tier 7 here. He's 29th for points leagues. We didn't see him at Summer League. 35 is Joni Broom, who is 38th in my points leagues rankings. He's a guy that put up numbers in Summer League, and the numbers look good, and some of the stuff he does is interesting, but I do think that when we get to the real NBA action, he's going to have significant problems, and that is why, the numbers would put him higher than this, but I do think that there are some real concerns with him on court. 34 is Cam Jones. I was pretty impressed with Jones, but again, Summer League context is hard to judge because that Pacers team didn't have much on it. But Jones is that hybrid guard that the Pacers do tend to like, and there might be opportunities. Carlisle's not afraid to give these guys minutes. We saw him play rookie Ben Shepherd minutes. We saw him start Andrew Nembhard as a rookie. Not saying that Cam Jones is going to do that, but with no Tyrese Halliburton there, and with Benedict Mathurin being Benedict Mathurin, who knows? Who knows? The last guy in Tier 7 for me is Will Riley, who I don't think is good. But, again, he was picked early, at pick 21, and that matters. So, I don't think he's good. I don't think he's ever going to be good. It's almost impossible, not impossible, but almost impossible for a wing guard perimeter player to have as small of a steal rate as Will Riley did and be anything of an NBA player. It's almost impossible. I'm also not convinced that he's a good shooter, even though he should be. But, again, organizational draft capital matters. So I've got him 33rd for categories and 28th in points leagues. Let's start with Tier 6 at number 32, Bogolub Markovic. I've got him 35th in points leagues. Not a lot to say about Markovic. There is some interesting passing stuff with him. 31, Adu Thero. 32 for points leagues in Tier 6 here. Thero playing for the Lakers. Some good defensive stuff. Some interesting usage upside maybe in the future, but that's a long-term thing. And then this is one again which is marginally controversial. Number 30, I've got Ryan Kalkbrenner. The big white cock as the cock. K-A-L-K. Ryan Kalkbrenner. I've never seen someone outside of Brook Lopez move as slowly as he did on the court. I've never seen a release that's as slow as him. Like, it makes Jonas Valanciunas look like a absolutely quick twitch trigger in terms of shooting. But Kalkbrenner's blocking ability, his offensive ability, his defensive ability is solid. I've got him 33rd for points leagues. But again, this is one of those ones where Kalkbrenner could start this season for the Hornets. I don't think he will, but I think he will start games at some point this season. I don't think he'll begin the year as their starter, but there is Plumlee and Diabate. Hardly a great lineup of guys, but also Kalkbrenner might be bad. But I also don't think that he's a future long-term NBA starter. It's one of those ones where it might be good now and then tail off. Shout out to old mate, the triangle, Eric Pascal. Remember him? Remember that guy? Yeah. So Kalkbrenner might be one of those guys where he gets opportunities and starts down the stretch, drop wreath, and then the team gets someone else in the position and then he's done. So that's why I've got him at 30. And then 29 is Ben Saraf, who, again, much like Hugo Gonzalez, is he a point guard or a small forward? Can he shoot? Don't know the answer to any of those things. I think his steal rate's pretty good. But also not convinced how it works in Brooklyn. I've got him 27th for points leagues and 29th in category leagues, and that is Tier 6. So true, there's actually 2 more in Tier 6. I lied. because I think Noah Pender for Orlando, second round pick, looked pretty good. Again, it is going to be hard to find those minutes behind Franz, behind Parlo. There's Tristan Da Silva, who's also bad in that mix. Pender is going to take some time to get there, but I'm interested. I got him at 28. And then another second-round pick, Maxime Reynaud, for the Sacramento Kings. He's 27th for categories, 34th for points leagues. I like his ability. I think he can be a starting center, but on this Kings team that honestly has no idea what they're doing, I don't really know when that chance is going to come. Like, could he be the backup center immediately? I guess so. Or is it Dario Wash-Saric? I'm not sure. But there is a possibility for him to get some action immediately. We'll come back and talk about the final 5 tiers, which I know you're just anxiously waiting to hear the results of those. Because, yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you be? Let's talk about tier 5. I've got old mate Danny Wolf, who, again, a first-round pick. Interesting as a point guard / center. I know, weird combo. Maybe he can shoot. I don't know. But also, there's a real chance he just isn't an NBA player and he's one of those like trick play offenses, college football sort of guys that, it's just, oh yeah, look at this guy. He's a center who's a point guard, and that doesn't work in the NBA for the large proportion of players. But I'll put him at 26. He's 26th in points leagues. I thought Liam McNeely, as I said in yesterday's show, was really impressive in Summer League. I hope the shooting holds. I hope some of the passing holds from Summer League. I'm not going to go crazy on this, but it's very possible he's a future starter. I've got McNeely 21 in points leagues and 25th here. Nick Clifford, I'd probably have much higher than this if he wasn't 23 already, or 24. I've got him 24th ranked in both categories and points. He is 24 years of age. He did a lot in Sacramento, but unless they're making moves, he's not playing. Like, when is he playing? Where is he playing? When is he playing? How is he playing? Why is he playing? I don't know. They just wanted to chuck all those inquisitive questions in. Number 23 is Walter Clayton Jr., who I've got for categories and points at 23. Again, could he start for Utah? Yes. Was he solid at Summer League? Yeah. I worried that he's not quite a point guard, and he's undersized at the 2, and, guess what? Old, but he was impressive. But you would hope these impressive, seasoned seniors do well at Summer League. Now, there is often a misconception that these players who are older are NBA ready. And they come in and play at the NBA, we've got to draft them, they're older, they're ready. It doesn't usually work that way. Shout out to Dalton Connect. But it does tend to work that way most times in Summer League. But when you get to the NBA, just because you play those few extra years in college, the reason that you played the few extra years in college, and this will start to change, I think, a little bit with NIL stuff. Although now we've got NIL limits and who knows. But I think that might change a little bit. But usually the reason that there are older players coming out of college is because they weren't good enough to come into the NBA earlier. So the NBA readiness can work for Summer League. Not sure it works in the real league. 22 is Rasheer Fleming. He's a second-round pick. Phoenix Suns. At the moment, it's Ryan Dunn. Maybe they're getting John Kuminga. I don't know. Fleming's got some interesting numbers out of St. Joe's. I hope that he's able to find a role that's good enough to develop those skills, but it's not guaranteed to happen at all. I've got him 22nd for categories and 25th for points leagues. To finish off tier 5, I've got Nolan Traore. I've got him 15th for points leagues. Now, I believe that he can be a better or the best Nets point guard they drafted, but at the moment, they are not prioritizing him that way. And that has to factor into it. At some point, I think that he will show himself to be the best guy there, but also, he might not. So I have to be realistic with how I position these guys. And the next one is Asa Newell, who I've got 20th in categories and 19th in points leagues. Newell looked pretty good in Summer League. But Okongwu, Porzingis, Jalen Johnson. Theoretically, he plays the same position as Jalen Johnson. Johnson maybe can play at the 3. Newell can maybe play at the 5. But still, it's a hard path to get there. So I've got him down at number 20 on this list. And again, I like him, but he's down at 20. I did move Young Hun Sen up. Now, I'm still not convinced that he's going to be an awesome player. I'm not convinced that his Summer League was as good as it's made out to be. But, again, organizational priorities and capital is important. So I've got Young up at 19, 22nd in points leagues, because since I did the initial Dynasty rookie ranks, they got rid of DeAndre Ayton. It looks like they'll get rid of Robert Williams, and it just could be a Klingon-Young combination. But also, he might not be good. There's a possibility of that. So I'm sort of hedging a little bit but I've got him at 19 here. At number 18, Kasparis Yakuchonis. I thought he was bad for the majority of summer league. He had one good game that I watched him play. But again, the minutes aren't necessarily there immediately. There are real turnover problems and shooting concerns, but there are assist numbers and the size is really good. Number 17, I really like Jace Richardson. I've got him 17 for categories and 17 for points leagues. I had him on my overall big board, like top 8. I think I had him 7th or 8th. I like him a lot. But we be realistic. He lasts until pick 25. He's small. He is young. He's small. And he's on a team where the path to the immediate minutes isn't quite there. It might get there because Jalen Suggs can get hurt at any point. And Richardson didn't do anything to harm my draft evaluation watching him in some league. I thought he looked awesome. I thought his stats were great. But again, is this going to work out? I don't know. Johan Berenger is at 16 for categories and points. Like I talked about with Sikorsky earlier on, like Berenger is in a situation where he's behind Gobert and Reed. He's incredibly young. He's a limited player. He's a Walker Kessler player. Rebounds, field goals, blocks. Which, if you do those things elitely, you can be very good. It's just going to take time to get there, and there's also no guarantee that he's able to do it at a high enough level. But I thought his summer league was incredibly impressive for, again, how much that matters. I said that was the end of Tier 4, and I lied. I got 2 more guys in Tier 4. Number 15 is Cedric Coward. We didn't see play in Summer League. I got him 20th for points league, a little bit older. I don't really know how to pass the 6 games he played last season, like with insane block numbers and good shooting numbers. Maybe that works out. I don't know, but everyone needs a wing, including Memphis, which is where he plays, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see him work into a rotation role immediately. And then number 14 is Noah Essengay, who I love the ability for him to draw fouls. I think it's going to take time, and I think that him and Matas Buzelis will be able to form a good pairing in a few years, but the Bulls are also still a weird team. They've got to find minutes for guys like Isaac Okoro and Kevin Huerter and Ayoda Sumu and Patrick Williams. And Essengay, I'm guessing, is going to be behind all those guys for a year or two. The Bulls also, though, just quietly, I think there are about 5 guys who are unrestricted free agents after this season, including Vooch, White, Huerter. Who's the other one? Vooch, White, Huerter. Anyway, there's somebody else in that mix that could all just be gone. Or Dosunmu, off the roster after this season. Got Essengay at 14. Let's move into Tier 3, which is a large tier. It goes from 13 all the way down to number 4. So just a big grouping of players where your miles may vary on how you want to view these guys, how you want to distribute the value on them in terms of your team, and are you wanting to grab a guy now and wait 3 years or get a little bit more value, and what sort of position do you need? At number 13, he might miss the start of this season. Derek Queen. Now, I don't love Derek Queen like others do, but part of the reason that I'm so down on Derek Queen is I hate the fit in New Orleans. I hate the fit with Zion. And then the other part of it is I hated the fact that they gave up that unprotected first to get him. Like crazy. I thought he looked out of shape and not conditioned well in Summer League. He put up some okay numbers, but I wasn't impressed. I've got him 13th. Number 12, I've got Yegor Yeoman for the Brooklyn Nets. I like the fact that he shot more threes. I like the fact that they went in. I think he's going to open the season as the starting point guard for the Nets. I think he's going to be terrible initially because rookie point guards are, but they are investing in him. So I've got Yeoman at 12 in both category and points. For 11, I've got Carter Bryant. He's 13th in points leagues. Now, I thought the defense from him in Summer League was amazing. I thought the offense was embarrassing. It was terrible. It was shocking. I think that can be worked on. I would hope that he's able to do more than Andre Robertson or a Matisse Thybulle offensively, because the defense was unbelievable. The size is great. He's got to work through Jeremy Sohan and Harrison Barnes and Julian Champagny, able to get minutes, but the defense is going to be so good, I think, that he's going to play. Now, you hope that the defense being that good turns into actually defensive stats, and then we can get some offensive numbers. The way that Aaron Gordon has been able to be a very good defender with it, but no defensive stats, but still contribute in other areas. Number 10 is Trey Johnson. Now, for points leagues, I've got him 6th because I don't know that he does much more than score and hit threes, which is incredibly valuable. But for a category league, we want more. So I thought Johnson looked really good at Summer League. Thought he looked better than Bub Carrington in that team. But again, the overall fantasy skill set is pretty lacking at this point. Now, it can be developed, but there's nothing that I've seen so far that would give me a level of confidence that it will flesh out the way that we want it to. That's why he's down this far. But again, this is tier 3. Move guys as you want. I have much less confidence in the guy I've got at number 9. That's Jeremiah Fears. I've got him 8th in points leagues Fears. But the reason I've got him 9 and Johnson 10 is that if it does work for Fears, there's way more value in it because he's a point guard and he's a good assist guy and he's going to get to the line and he's going to shoot free throws really well. And all of that stuff becomes really important. Now, I think that, I don't know, he's probably not going to start for the Pelicans this season. He might be, honestly, the worst player in the NBA this season. There's a real chance that he is that. Doesn't mean he'll be that all season. Remember, Isaiah Collier was the worst player in the NBA for about 2 months and he turned into an okay player. Fears might be worse this season. But we're talking a longer-term investment to see where it goes. I don't have that much faith in it. But it's a player that, if it works, we do want to be around it. I don't love Colin Murray-Boyles either. I didn't like the fit in Toronto. Him and Scotty Barnes together doesn't make a lot of sense. But what we saw with Murray-Boyles in Vegas is he just did the things that he did. The offense is a problem. I don't think it's ever going to be good. Defensively, he was awesome. The fit and the overall upside is going to be a concern. I've got him 11th for points and 8th for category leagues. But again, that overall fantasy skill set that Murray-Boyles has, if you compare it to Trey Johnson, it's much superior. At number 7, it's Ace Bailey. I got him 4th in points leagues. I worry about Bailey's ability to do anything that's not scoring. I worry about shot selection and efficiency. Part of the reason that I've got him ahead of Trey Johnson, though, is organizational capital, 1 pick, but it matters. But also, he can rebound more. And that's probably the more interesting. But, also, the Jazz team, man. I know you can say, well, they'll start Markkanen, they'll have Filipowski, you'll have Kessler starting, and then Bailey can play the 2. I don't think there's any chance. I don't think you can have your 2 guard not be able to dribble or pass at all or take bad shots. I don't think that's a good combination. But we'll see what they do. Number 6, I really like Thomas Sorba. I had him very high on my draft board. But we didn't see him in Summer League. He had a foot issue, and he's going to be playing behind Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. So he's just not going to do anything. Also, Pig Williams still there. But in 2 years' time, he could be a 24-minute a night backup easily. And then in 3 years' time, he could be a starter, whether it's on this team or another team. I've got Sorba lower for points leagues at number 10, but I really like him. It's just a longer-term investment. Number 5, another longer-term guy, is Kaman Malawach. I've got him at 7 in points leagues. He's going to be behind Mark Williams. I like that he was taking some threes. He's going to take some time to learn a bunch of stuff in the NBA, and he might be one of those guys that's sort of capped out in terms of minutes because of offensive limitations and even some defensive stuff. But there is a real appeal there as a good efficiency, shot blocking, 3-point shooting, rebounding big man. Number 4, the Areola, Con Knipple. I've got him 5th in points leagues. Knipple just did the things that I wanted him to do outside of game 1 in Summer League. I think he's got a chance to start. Maybe not immediately. They might go with Sexton, but he'll be playing close enough to start his minutes, and then we'll ramp into a larger role as the season goes on. In Tier 2, I've got 2 players. It's VJ Edgecombe at number 3, who's number 3 in points leagues, and at number 2, it's Dylan Harper, who's number 2 in points leagues. I don't really think we need to discuss that. Edgecombe was good in the games that he played. Harper was good in the games that he played. Edgecombe's going to be a steals guy. Harper's going to be an assist guy as their main categories. Both guys will ramp up scoring. Edgecombe's going to be a situation where it's going to be hard to get usage, especially immediately, unless, of course, Paul George is up. What's that I'm hearing? Paul George is already hurt? Or maybe there. Maybe there's a little bit more for him. I don't know, but that's how I've got it. They're both in Tier 2, and surprising nobody in Tier 1, it's old mate Cooper Flagg. He's number 1 for categories. He's number 1 for points leagues. I think he's going to be an above-average contributor in every single fantasy category, maybe by as early as Year 2. I think he's going to go in the top 40 of redrafts this season. He's going to go easy top 10 of Dynasty drafts overall. He's going to probably go top 5 in most Dynasty startup drafts. This is just an absolute no-brainer. And I don't know what more to say. Apart from that's the end of the show. So that's my Dynasty rookie re-ranks after Vegas Summer League. Let me know where your biggest disagreements were, or maybe your biggest agreements, if you wanted to chuck those in there as well. One of the other things you could do is chuck a double bang down below. That means listening to the audio and watching the video. Thumb and comment. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. I have one daughter.